Welcome to the SRCreek Choir Winter Concert. Thank you for coming. The choir's first song of the season will be I'll Be Home for Christmas, which was written in 1943 to honor soldiers overseas who were longing to be home for Christmas time. It was first recorded by Bing Crosby in 1943 and went on to become a Christmas standard. The song is sung from the point of view of a soldier stationed over during World War II, writing a letter to his family. The song ends on a melancholy note, with the soldier saying, "I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams." The song touched the hearts of Americans, soldiers and civilians alike, in the midst of World War II, and it earned Crosby his 5th gold record. The GI magazine Yank said Crosby accomplished more for military morale than anyone else of the era. In December 1965, astronauts Frank Borman and Jim Lovell, while on Gemini 7, requested I'll Be Home for Christmas to be played for them by the NASA ground crew. The choir is pleased to introduce Ed Wong, one of our talented residents, who will play the violin solo. Magic Moments, with music written by Burt Bacharach, was published in 1957. The biggest hit version of the song was recorded by Perry Como and released by RCA Victor in December 1957. It was the B side of the record. The A side was Catch a Falling Star. In his 2003 book titled Burt Bacharach, the writer Serene Dominic has this to say about the funny memories of the songwriters in performing to sleigh rides and referring to sleigh rides. Saturday dances and penny arcade, combined with a quizzical bassoon, the whistling and the ghastly white shadings of the Ray Charles singers, these distinct recollections must seem like occurrences on another planet to later generations. So obviously, Dominic didn't think much of that. Since our choir promises to do none of the sound effects, we trust that you will enjoy our version of Magic Moments. In 1955, the husband and wife songwriting team of Cy Miller and Jill Jackson wrote a song about their dream of peace for the world and how they believed each one of us could help create it. They first introduced the song to a group of teenagers selected from their high school to attend a week-long retreat in California. Cy wrote the following about what happened. One summer evening in 1955, a group of 180 teenagers of all races and religions meeting at a workshop high in the California mountains locked arms, formed a circle, and sang a song of peace. They felt that singing the song with this simple, basic sentiment, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me," helped to create a climate for world peace and understanding. The young people brought the song home and introduced it to their clubs and their churches, and it was taped, recorded, copied, and printed into songbooks and spread by word of mouth. The song spread overseas, and professional singers began singing it. To many of us, the words of White Christmas are reminiscent of the idyllic scenes of Christmases long ago depicted on our Christmas cards. Written by Irving Berlin, White Christmas is one of the most popular songs of the season. However, you probably don't remember the original first verse, which was spoken rather than sung, and frequently omitted from recordings. It described a typical Los Angeles Christmas. But in case you are interested in knowing what it said, here it is. The sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been such a day in Beverly Hills, L.A. But it's December 24th, and I'm longing to be up north. You will probably agree with me that the lyrics are not among Berlin's best, and it's just as well that verse has been omitted by our choir. Ed Wong will accompany the choir on his violin. Jingle Bells is one of the best known and commonly sung American songs in the world. It was written by James Lord Pierpont and was published in the autumn of 1857 under the title One Horse Open Sleigh. It was first performed on Washington Street in Boston in 1857. Some area choirs adopted it as a part of their repertoire in the 1860s and 70s, and it was featured in a variety of pop parlor songs and college anthologies in the 1880s. Although Jingle Bells has no connection with Christmas and was originally intended for the Thanksgiving season, Decades after it was first performed, it became associated with Christmas music and the holiday season in general. It was first recorded in 1889 on an Edison cylinder. It is an unsettled question where and when Pierpont originally composed Jingle Bells, but a plaque in the center of Medford Square in Medford, Massachusetts, commemorates the birthplace of the song in 1850 at what was then the Simpson Tavern. According to the Medford Historical Society, the song was inspired by the town's popular sleigh rides during the 19th century.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells and thunder ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bride was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. We got into a drifted bank, and maybe we got upsot. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Now the ground is white, so go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Just get a bobtail thing, 44 his speed. Just hitch him to an open sleigh and trade.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Rock of Ages is a traditional Jewish hymn sung during Hanukkah, which was instituted by Judas Maccabee and the Congregation of Israel in 165 BC to commemorate the rededication of the Jerusalem temple after the Israelite victory that year over the Seleucid king Antiochus Epiphanes. Judas was the son of an aged priest who took to the mountains in rebellion when Antiochus attempted to impose the Greek religion on the Jews. Judas took over the rebel leadership after his father's death and proved to be a military genius, overthrowing 4 Seleucid armies in quick succession and restoring the Temple of Jerusalem. When the victorious Maccabees regained control of the desecrated temple, they relit their ceremonial oil lamp. This deed is celebrated in 8 days of Hanukkah, which in Hebrew means dedication, and is known as the Jewish Festival of Lights. On each night of Hanukkah, a candle is lit on the menorah. 1 candle is lit the first night, 2 candles the second night, and so on for 8 nights. A special blessing, thanking God, is said before lighting the candles, and a special hymn is often sung. There is a special 9th candle, usually in the center of the menorah and higher than the other candles, which is used to light the other candles. Ed Wong will accompany the choir and play a solo on his violin.
With the raging foe,
In 1963, when John and Michelle Phillips wrote our next song, California Dreaming, they were not thinking fondly of ice and snow and mistletoe. They would much rather be in sunny, warm California than spend the cold winter in New York City. The story goes that John dreamed about the song and woke up Michelle to help him write it. At the time, they were members of a folk group, the Journeymen, which evolved into the Mamas and the Papas. The song became the signpost of the California sound and the arrival of the nascent countercultural era. California Dreaming was certified as a gold record by the Recording Industry Association of America in June 1966 and was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2001. In Rodgers and Hammerstein's musical, The Sound of Music, Julie Andrews, in her role as Maria, sings My Favorite Things. The lyrics to the song are reference to things Maria loves, such as whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles, and warm woolen mittens. However, the residents of Stonehenge Creek are a few years older than Maria, and our list of favorite things is somewhat different than hers. Listen closely, and you might find some of your favorite things among the hot tea and crumpets and corn pads for bunions, or thin bones and fractures and hair that is thinning. Of course, by now, Julie Andrews in real life would probably relate better to our version. Enjoy the fun.
Oh, drops and nose drops and needles for knitting,
Rockers and handrails and new dental fittings,
bundles of magazines tied up in strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Cadillacs and
Bells are rung to announce life events, both happy and sad. The ringing of bells goes back to pagan rituals when they were rung not only to keep evil spirits away, but also as part of Christmas celebrations. It was decided to place the Christian celebration of Christmas on a date used for the celebration of various pagan deities as a way to encourage conversion to Christianity. And at Christmas time, bells are rung to announce the birth of the Christ child. Silver Bells was written in 1941 for the film The Lemon Drop Kid, starring Bob Hope and Marilyn Maxwell. The songwriters were very reluctant to write a Christmas song because new Christmas songs had not done well, and their contracts were about to expire. They didn't want another flop. But the studio was insistent, so they wrote a song based on department store Santas and Salvation Army workers ringing their bells on street corners. Silver Bells became a huge success when Bing Crosby recorded a duet of the song with Carol Richards. It secured the writer's employment and became a loved musical tradition.
Busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, making smile after smile. And on every street corner you hear silver bells, silver bells. Silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Bright lights, even soft lights, like the bright red and green, as the shoppers rush home with their treasures. Hear the snow crunch, sing the kids march. This is Santa's big scene. And above all this bustle, you hear silver bells, silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Soon it will be Christmas Day.
Baby, It's Cold Outside is a call and response duet written by Frank Lesser in 1944, usually performed by a male trying to convince a guest female to stay the evening because the weather is cold and the trip home will be difficult. During the 1940s, when Hollywood celebrities hosted a party, they expected their guests to perform. And Frank wrote the song for him and his wife to sing at a housewarming party at the Navarro Hotel in New York City. They sang the song to indicate the guests that it was time to leave. They became instant parlor room stars and got invited to all the best parties. In fact, parties were built around their being the closing act. In 1948, after years of performing the song, Lesser sold it to MGM for the 1949 romantic comedy Neptune's Daughter. In the film, it was sung by Esther Williams and Ricardo Montalban and won the Academy Award. Tonight, the choir is reprising, by request, the very special duet rendition of Baby, It's Cold Outside by Renée Bauer and Ron Peterson.
I really
But
can't
baby,
stay.
it's cold outside.
I've gotta go away. Baby, it's cold
This
outside.
evening has been
hoping
so
that you'd drop
very
in.
nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just
My mother
like
will
ice.
start to worry.
Beautiful, what's your hurry?
My father will be pacing the floor.
I
So
listen to the
really, I'd
fireplace
better
roar.
scurry.
Beautiful, please don't
Well,
hurry.
maybe just a half a drink more.
Put some records on
neighbors
while I
might
pour.
think-
Baby, it's bad out there.
Hey, what's in this drink?
No cabs to be had out
I
there.
wish I knew
Your
how
eyes are like
to
starlight
break this
now.
spell.
I'll take your hat. Your
I
hair
ought to
looks
say
swell.
no, sir.
Mind if I
At
move
least
in
I'm going to
closer?
say that I tried.
What's the sense
I
of hurting
really
my
can't
pride?
stay.
Baby, don't hold out.
But it's cold outside. I simply must
But baby,
go.
it is cold outside.
The answer is
Baby,
no.
it's cold outside.
The welcome has
How lucky
been
that you dropped
so very warm.
Look out the window at that storm.
My sister will be suspicious.
Gosh, your lips look delicious.
My brother will be there at
Waves
the door.
upon a tropical shore.
My maiden aunt's voice
Oh,
is
your
vicious.
lips are delicious.
Well, maybe just a cigarette
Never
more.
such a blizzard before.
I gotta get
But
home.
baby, you'd freeze out there.
They lend me a comb.
It's up to your knees out there.
You've really been grand.
I thrill when you touch my
But
hand.
don't you see?
How can you do this thing to me?
There's bound to be talk tomorrow.
Think of my lifelong sorrow.
At least there'll be plenty implied.
If you caught pneumonia and
I
died,
really can't stay.
baby, don't hold out.
But it's cold outside.
Well, it's hard to follow that. But anyway, in 1959, Leonard Lipton, then a 19-year-old Cornell University student, wrote a poem, Puff the Magic Dragon. He was inspired by an Ogden Nash poem titled Custard the Dragon, a really-o, truly-o little pet dragon. Lipton was friends with Peter Yarrow's housemate, and he used Yarrow's typewriter to get the poem out of his head, and then he forgot all about it. Years later, Peter Yarrow of the group Peter, Paul, and Mary found the poem and wrote lyrics based on it for the group to sing. His lyrics tell a story of the ageless dragon Puff and his playmate Jackie Paper, a little boy who grows up and loses interest in the imaginary adventures of childhood and leaves Puff to live by himself in the fictional land of Honolulu. After the song was released, Yarrow contacted a friend from Cornell who put him in touch with Lipton. Yarrow gave him credit for the lyrics, and Lipton still gets royalties from the song.
Strings and ceiling racks and other fancy stuff.
When I Fall in Love was introduced in the film 1 Minute to Zero. However, the first recording, sung by Jerry Southern, was not released until April 1952. A few months later, Doris Day recorded the song, and it became a hit. The cover version of When I Fall in Love by Celine Dion and Clive Griffin was featured in the romantic comedy Sleepless in Seattle and released as a single in July 1992. In 1996, Natalie Cole recorded When I Fall in Love as a duet with her father, Nat King Cole, by way of vocals from his 1956 recording. The 1996 version won 2 Grammys, one for Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals and another for Best Instrumental Arrangement with Accompanying Vocals. Fred Carrington will be our soloist. The lyrics for What Child Is This were taken from a poem titled The Manger Throne, written by William Dix in 1865. At the time he composed the carol, Dix worked as insurance company manager and had been struck by severe illness. While recovering, he underwent a spiritual renewal that led him to write several hymns, including lyrics for this carol that was eventually set to the tune of Greensleeves, a traditional English folk song. The carol's melody has been described as soulful, haunting, and heartfelt in nature. The context of the carol centers around the adoration of the shepherds who visited Jesus during his nativity. The questions posed in the lyrics reflect what the shepherds were possibly pondering to themselves when they encountered the Christ child, with the rest of the carol providing a response to their questions. The first verse of the carol poses a rhetorical question in the first half, with the response coming in the second half. The second verse urges everyone, from peasant to king, to own him, the King of Kings. Although it was written in Great Britain, the carol is more popular in the United States than in its country of origin. The origin of We Wish You a Merry Christmas is unclear, since it was not included in any of the 19th century collections of carols. But it clearly lies in the English tradition where wealthy people of the community gave Christmas treats to the carolers on Christmas Eve. And the greeting, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, is recorded from the early 18th century. A closely related verse dating from the 1830s goes, "We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, a pocket full of money and a cellar full of beer." We Wish You a Merry Christmas is also sung by mummers, who were children who would go about singing from door to door on Christmas Eve to request gifts. After they were allowed in and performed a mummer's play, the boys would be served beer by the farmer's maid. The choir will sing the carol twice, and we invite the members of our audience to join us the second time around.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is our fifth annual performance, right? We had 5, and we have many, many more years to go. Thank you so much for coming, and my name is Natalia. Well, I'm really proud of my choir. We do a great job together. Thank you so much for all your hard work. And we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I will sing a couple songs, so if you don't have to go right this second. So, Ron Hare, and thank you, and Ed for playing his beautiful violin solo. Our guest, Ed.
Where'd he go?
There he is.
Encore. One more time, please applause for our special guest.